My lips are legitimately burning. It almost feels like a...
They have some kind of like bitter aftertaste.
But I don't think it's any... What?
I'm laughing.
Like killing, like removing oxygen from new original content. Because they're boring faggots. Hey man. They throw both at you.
I like how it has the beard.
Honestly, the entire facial structure is kind of insane if you look at it. Dude, he doesn't just leave the area when he sees dead mouse corpses all there. Like, he's not thinking about how something's planning on...
Under it. You like put something on top of
You're gonna edit this out, I'm assuming.
Yeah, just walk in a little bit. Angle your chair.
I'm not going to.
Towards you. Ugh. I think that should be good. Go ahead and get in a little bit closer. Angle your chair some more. That way. Because we're talking to this.
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay. So, now... yeah, that's good enough. Alright. Ready? You try number one.
Huh?
We'll try the first take here.
Okay.
Alright. So, just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Enoch Campbell. I been around in this area for a while. I'm kind of like a polymath node guy or something.
Polymath?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means many.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if there was like a...
Many disciplines.
Okay, alright, that makes sense. There's a lot of different polys, so...
Yeah, I'm not that type of poly.
Yeah. I would hope not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not a pellet. That's what we're talking about.
We don't
approve of hate towards the wrong groups here.
Alright. I'm not even gonna comment. So, just give me a little bit of background, like job, what you do.
Yeah, so for a long time I worked for my dad's business, but then he stopped doing it as much for a while. Now I'm starting it back up again, but mainly now I'm a game developer. I am close to releasing my first game, but it's not. It won't be everything I want it to be, but it'll be pretty good.
I mean, even if it's not, as
Yeah.
long as it's good enough.
Yeah. So
You gotta start somewhere.
I gotta release it. And honestly, you go look at Phone Slop. It'll be on the upper end of Phone Slop. So.
Very highly regarded there.
Yeah.
Slightly better than garbage. Is that what you're trying to say?
It'll be pretty good.
It'll be pretty good.
It'll be a solid 5 out of 10.
So kind of like Walmart pizza.
That's not that bad.
Okay.
Walmart pizza's 3 out of 10.
3.
That's just normal Phone Slop.
It's just normal phone slop. So no microtransactions, essentially. You don't
I'll
pay,
put microtransactions in, but I won't make you.
So you gotta pay for the toppings.
Not necessarily. I mean, you can win the toppings if you're a psychopath.
So, all right. Is that all you do? Game development, or do you? What else do you do in your free time, or? Job?
I have made a lot of inventions that I haven't fully completed. Some of them do work already, but I would say the suction cup thing that I have for the massage does work quite well. But there's no reason for me to develop it more because it's something that would be difficult to market.
Okay.
I feel like game development is the quickest path to having a decent amount of money where I can experiment with things. I know my father, he's an inventor, and he wants to make like a rocket stove too. A rocket stove, they have these basically he has a method of making it run for a long time. But rocket stoves are extremely efficient wood burning stoves. I want to say they get up to like 70% or more, so maybe more actually. And they basically you can just throw wood sticks in there, it'll burn it, and it'll burn good. So problem is you have to refill them every hour. But
so it's high efficiency but short term.
yeah. So anyways, he has a method of feeding it cheaply for probably a day or longer. So we would probably, after I release a couple games, we'll probably use some of that capital to game development. But I kind of skipped around here. I skipped past what my dad's business was, which is he made a ignition system that retrofits onto any vehicle, basically. So and basically what the ignition system does is it times the explosions, and always makes old vehicles work a lot better because old ignition systems, they use literally a magnet spinning past to generate the spark. A lot of them, what's called a magneto. It's really not very powerful. And then later on, they use something called points to charge a coil. But you have so many issues with that. You can't control the saturation. So you can't miniaturize a coil. It doesn't have enough power. Because the longer you turn a coil on, there's an ideal amount of time you want it on, basically. Because it gets to full power, and then after that, you're just burning it, basically. So if you can control the saturation, you can have smaller, way more powerful coils, because they won't burn up. And so you can have 10,000 volt spark pretty easy that has a lot of current going through it. Okay. So you'll get full combustion out of your engine. And we have done some measurements, actually. We actually were doing EPA testing on it, and it gets more output for less emissions. So we know it was making it more efficient, which is why they got more performance. So I've had a couple tractor pull guys put on it, some race car guys. Usually they're almost not even worth dealing with, but hate to say it, but they have a lot of demands, and there's not much profit. But best guys are probably just bike guys, because you don't have to do that much. Put it on. And so Harleys and Urals. Ural is I think that's a Russian bike. Pretty sure. But there's a lot over here.
I'm not super familiar with bikes.
Yeah.
There's a lot in the U.S.?
Yeah, believe it or not. They are.
Just import, or do they actually
Yeah, I think they brought over a bunch at one point after the Soviet Union fell. I'm pretty sure is what happened.
But they're more like a classic bike? Like something
yeah. Basically anything before like the 90s, yeah. So most of those stuff is for classic vehicles, because you can put it on a modern car, but you have to fight the internal computer a little bit. It's just a lot more difficult to do. It could be done, but it would not be easy.
Yeah, it's like one of those where you you leave your gas tank open and it says that your gas tank's leaking.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine if you start fiddling with the inside and changing things out, you're going to trigger a whole lot of different things, and
yeah, you're going to have to basically reprogram the computer a little bit or trick it.
Yeah, your dash is going to, or your dash is going to look like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a pain in the butt.
Or if it'll even turn on. It might not. It's on some vehicles. So, but yeah, so
assuming you put one in or you sell one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't turn on, and you can't get it figured out. Have you ever had that happen and had to take one back?
Not for older vehicles. That doesn't happen really. What happens is they screw something up, and then we'll have to fix it. We'll have to figure out how to fix it for them. But usually, we have a return policy where they end up paying us like $50 for a time to figure it out, basically. So, I mean, they own it. So, but we try to make it easy. We have very good documentation. We have lots of good graphs that we drew. So, we do not want them to. We don't like wasting time.
Right, you don't want them to return it.
Yeah.
'Cause it's just not. It's even if you charge $50, it's not profitable.
No, it's not.
Because you're spending with and it's an inconvenience for them too. So.
Yeah, it's not good. So
It's a lot easier if you can say, hey, go check out this page or whatever.
yeah, I actually I've been thinking about training an AI model for talking to them, but that will be the first thing I train probably.
Probably followed by that training program.
Yeah.
Give you a little bit of experience first.
That's another thing I do. Right now, my computer, it's probably done actually. I was booting my computer up, training a lore for somebody. Basically, there's a streamer that's kind of.
No.
So, we'll cut that out. No.
No, I mean, it's just.
He is literally. In fact, we looked up the place in Canada he comes from. I think they have 1,000 parts per million of lead.
Okay,
in
so
water.
Yeah, you might be affected just a little bit.
Yeah, they literally I think they were going into the school taps. They said it was more than that. It was like in excess of 1,000 parts per million. So they absolutely did probably
A lot of damage.
They made him dumb.
Yeah,
So-
some level of.
Really did, but we used to kind of help him out. He was funny though, like let's face it, and we weren't like harassing him though, but he wants me to make a lore so we can have him do funny stuff with AI images.
Well, he's. Oh, okay. They meant while he was streaming.
No, we won't do that to him.
So, all right. So outside of like the Laura, what are some views you have that maybe are a little bit outside of the box?
Outside of the box? I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of which ones. There's just too many.
Start with the first one that comes to mind.
Okay, I think probably the most out of the box one, but I do have some evidence for this, is that I do think that, and I have talked to people that work at like Intel, and they're part of the fab process itself. They're actually around a few of them. They don't believe that, they don't ever see results from quantum computers, and there's I have a suspicion and a belief that they are not in fact computers. They are contacting beings from another dimension is their intent. If they've succeeded at that, I don't know, but I suspect that's what they want. Those people in the know that want to do that with them.
So is that the squid?
Yes, I've talked to you about this. Yeah, basically there's something I can super. I don't remember what squid is super quantum. I can't remember what the acronym's for. It's basically it's a superconductive loop that's highly sensitive. Basically, you can bias it so that anything can trip it, and it's a loop. That's why they make it a loop like that. And so this gets it to you can actually superimpose it. It's so sensitive, and that's the point of it. It's the most sensitive sensor you could possibly make. It will, and so if you look at what they do with these quantum computers, they literally isolate them in every possible way. It's a vacuum. It's like nothing, zero, as close to absolute zero as you can get without it costing a fortune.
You're referencing the temp, right?
Yes. It's just they're highly isolated. They're electrically isolated, and then they the way they describe the programming is psycho. It doesn't. It's not just me not. It's not me not understanding. I actually understand what they're saying. It just doesn't make sense. It's like you read like AI stuff, right? Okay, I work with some AI stuff. You read it, you're like, okay, I can see how that would work. I don't fully understand it, but it's like they literally have terms like latent. That means the hidden element of it, right? Like you work with a latent space. What that means is that is inside of the AI. This is the space it has that it's running these vectors on, and you don't really know entirely what it's doing, but you have an idea, right? This is different. It's more like they do like what they called it map painting. It's more like you're tuning the array. You're not really making it. You're not giving it logic to run off. And so when it goes out, it's going. A real computer is interpreting it, not a. It's not. It doesn't look like it's doing computation.
So yeah, so you're tuning it. You're getting information. You're not creating information. Is what you're
It doesn't look like you're processing information at all.
So and then there's a background element there, obviously, like a standard computer that's processing all that information.
It receives it through information and looks at it, yeah. And then you program it through the normal computer. You constantly are doing that. It's a constant loop between the two. So and people, they say we don't really ever get any results out of these things, but sometimes we'll mysteriously get perfect results. So it's something they have almost no control of, but then suddenly it mystically works, which almost sounds occult to me. So
all right. So on a subject of the occult and kind of on the same line there, what's your opinion on the LHC?
I think they're doing real science there, but I think they are along the same lines as quantum computers are using real science in an attempt to be occult. And I don't think everyone knows that way. I think a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are just nerds that like protocol accelerators.
Right.
But
They're freaking cool.
Yeah, they are cool.
Right.
I love protocols. They're cool. I would like to build a electrostatic protocol accelerator. They actually can do that. It's not that hard. But I do think I think a few of them want to create what's called a Kugelblitz, which what that is you create an area of space that is so hot that it is smaller than the Planck length. So if you do that, you could theoretically make a black hole. I do think they want that. Now, what that would do, I have no idea. And actually, there's debates on if black holes are even possible, if the math is even right, believe it or not. But I don't know. At that point, you may actually force something. If there's lots of, we're getting into territory here where it's theoretical, so we don't really know. But if we're right about there being higher dimensions, that might be the only way you could force something through it, is by giving it no space to move. It has to go up. You know what I'm saying? Like, normally when we're moving through 3 dimensions and you apply a lot of force, it can move in one of those 3 dimensions. If you got it so small, if you compressed it so hard that it's below the Planck length, it may actually try to move orthogonally to our dimension. You know what I'm saying? Because it has to go somewhere.
So what are you inferring as being squeezed?
Protocols. Right now, you can't. It requires absurd energy to do that.
So,
like an electron, proton.
What would be the benefit of?
I think they're kind of psycho and they want to open a portal. Now, will they succeed? I don't know. And most of them probably don't even care about that. But I do think a lot of the high dollar backers do feel that way. And you read some of the stuff they say, they clearly feel that way. So it's not like you can't get you don't perpetuate conspiracies by getting everyone in on them. You perpetuate conspiracies by changing the rules and getting people to go along with you because you altered the environment. You can't get everyone to just agree with you and do stuff. You have to give them incentives. So if you change the incentive structure, you can perpetuate a conspiracy. And I think you see that everywhere. The people get in power and they change the incentive structure, and then most people will just go along with it, with what benefits themselves. Because most people are selfish. And they don't think about it further. They don't care. They aren't going to take the risk.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on that. I think the LHC is extraordinarily risky to even operate. Even
It's
if they're
expensive.
not. Yeah, very, very expensive. But I recall, I want to say, was it 2018? What was the year where they shut it off for a long period of time and then they triggered it back on?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I don't remember what that spook was about.
Well,
yeah.
when they triggered it on, if you were looking at the satellite that tracks the magnetosphere,
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing lit up like a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
And if I recall correctly, it wasn't shortly after they had triggered that back on is when what they call that, MHC, that flight 347, was it 347?
Oh, yeah.
It just up and just crashing and disappearing.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So, is it possible that when they turn that device on, that it could have an effect on, let's say, the navigational tools inside aircrafts?
I don't know what would happen if they actually did create a Kugel Blitz, which I think they were getting there. I think they were 10 to the 27th thermal energy. I think you need 10 to 35th. They were getting there. I think they might have gotten there actually, and so if they got to above 10 to 35th, it's possible. We don't really know what it would do. If you have a particle that literally escapes reality because there's so much energy, it goes orthogonally.
Wouldn't you break conservation?
No, it would conserve itself, but it would exist. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It would break conservation here, but
yes.
It's not breaking conservation in a meta sense.
Right, but what effect would that have here?
I don't know. It might come back, and it might bring a lot. It might cause some serious magnetism. It might, because there's a lot of the best theories we have of light and magnetism are that they're actually fifth dimensional particles, and so it's possible it would cause it to do that. In fact, you can make perfect predictions making that assumption. That's why it's a good theory. The reason, so it might have. I don't know. Like, we're entering territory where it might do that. So,
all right. So a little bit of a change of subject here. Have you been privy to any of this information coming out about the UFOs coming out of the water?
I read some of it. I do think it's interesting that there's a few of the orbs that appear to have a lot of eyes on them.
So I'm assuming you're given more of like a religious connotation to them?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, I a little bit, but I don't know if it's, yeah, I think it's more it's not extraterrestrial. I think they're extraterrestrial, but not in the normal sense you think of.
You mean perhaps maybe terrestrial, but extra dimensional?
Yes.
So, which is an interesting theory because a lot of people, including myself, I ascribe that they predate human existence, at least here.
Probably.
By, who knows how much time? Could be a million years.
We have no idea. I'm sure they do.
The interesting thing is why has there been little to no interaction, at least upfront interaction, with humans if they were here long before we were here?
Maybe they wanted. Well, my idea on that is, well, maybe they wanted to change the narrative. That's my take on that. Because we had a strange period here where people slowly became apathetic, and they didn't. They stopped caring about that stuff, and it kind of reset everyone's belief system. I think you can't easily change people's belief system up front. You have to have some kind of reset. It usually doesn't work to go attack it directly. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My take on it is that they were sitting back waiting for people to stop killing.
And I think most people have.
They have.
Caring. You really, even when it was news and they had those Senate hearings, people didn't really care that the government came out and said, yeah, you know, this stuff's coming out of the ocean and we don't know what it is, and nobody was talking about it. People that knew it was like, oh, but is that necessarily not really caring, or is it more of people cared, but they already made that assumption, so it wasn't news?
Probably a little bit of both. And also, the way our news is served now is not centralized. We have decentralized as a people into smaller groups. And frankly, I mean, what's interesting they're coming out with it now, because we are in legitimate danger of having a serious war.
Yeah. Yeah, the Biden coming out and allowing those ICBMs to be sent into Russia was probably one of the most bizarre things he could have done. Especially walking out the door. That's what he decided to do. And then the icing on the cake is he goes and he pardons his son.
For crimes that he's never been accused of. Okay. I actually do not care about his gun the gun thing. I would have been fine if he pardoned him for that. The thing that's psycho is he pardoned him for hypothetical crimes. For 11 years. Which is interestingly enough. Hey, Caleb.
What's up?
You're interrupting the podcast.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we could have him join.
Yeah, we'll take a break for a second.
Okay.
For a couple. We'll wait a second.
I don't remember who I was. It was UFOs.
I had to get a cough drop in first.
Better.
What?
Better. It was pretty great, actually. Today, I'm surprised. 'Cause I felt like total garbage yesterday.
Yeah. No comment.
Hmm?
No comment.
It's because my shoulder was like, it got like thrown out of whack, and it was like squeezing at my entire head. You know what I mean?
Alright, you ready?
No, I'm not.
Finish eating. Just fucking with you. Ay, ay, ay. Alright. Done with our little break. Are you done?
Still chewing. It's important to chew your food. It makes you digest better.
I'm done. So, let's finish chewing. But we were on the conversation of, obviously, aliens.
Aliens, yeah.
And kind of the lack of focus that's been given to it, a lack of attention by people. And
Yeah, it really is strange. And the fact that, that's right. We were talking about how Biden fired ICBMs at Russia.
Yeah, that is what we ended on, actually. It's just bizarre. And his pardoning of his son, and
that's what I was going to say. The kicker is that for sex trafficking crimes, I believe the statute of limitations is 10 years. He pardoned him for 11. So, you know, he has them go over to Ukraine, prime sex trafficking area, where they literally had child prostitutes. And, you know, he does the Burisma deal.
Yeah, you know, what's interesting is nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that. And nobody talks about how strange it is that the Burisma deal was going on. All of this stuff with Ukraine was starting to boil up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not talking about Russia. I'm talking about all this criminal stuff.
Yeah.
Was starting to come to the surface. And then all of a sudden, Biden gets elected.
Yeah.
And where does the war break out?
Right, well, it was all happening.
Right, it was all happening.
Yeah.
How much of that evidence do you think just went up in a flame?
Yeah, I know.
And then step back and take a look at what happened in China with C-19, and then understand that those same kind of laboratories existed, probably still exist, in Ukraine.
Yeah, I know.
And there was they made news headlines because they believed, I want to say, they're worried that the Russians were going to cause a strike to hit and cause these viruses to get...
Yeah, they thought they were going to take them and use them.
Yeah. And it's like, all of this is happening at one time.
Yeah. I don't think Russia is really justified in this war, but I can understand why you would be nervous if somebody literally has biological warfare laboratories on your border. Like, I can't entirely fault them. It's also us being psychos.
Well, so I think it's clear to most informed people that, and I'm not going to justify any of the killing, obviously, but Putin had his interview with Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
And it was a long interview. I watched it from start to finish, okay? Yeah. And he made it very, very clear. Mm-hmm. He does not take issue with the American people.
Yeah.
He takes issue with our three-letter agencies.
Yeah.
CIA, FBI, yada, yada. So, when you look at that, his issue with those three-letter agencies, you look at what we have going on in Ukraine, to which, to my knowledge, they were looking at gain of function in Ukraine.
Oh, they were.
All of this stuff boiling over at the same time clearly was to destroy evidence.
Yeah.
Was to protect Fauci. Yeah. Was to protect Biden, Bill Gates, and all of these incredibly corrupt individuals.
Yeah.
And anybody that thinks, for an instance, that Bill Gates is like a saint, or that Dr. Fauci is anything but pure evil, has not done their research on these individuals.
There's an argument to be made that most of the AIDS epidemic was effectively instigated by what he did. Like, he has he's never been good.
No. And that's what's interesting is if you watch mainstream media and they are praising an individual, probably wise to stay away from that individual.
Probably.
Who is it? Is it Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
I won't go into too much detail with Tom Hanks because there hasn't been anything confirmed, obviously. But it's pretty clear to anybody with two eyes and two ears what Tom Hanks is into and what Tom Hanks has done. But if you were to watch mainstream media, the guy is practically a saint. Same as Fauci. Fauci is, he sacrificed so much for the American people.
Yeah.
It's probably, I would equate Fauci, he is on equal terms in evilness to Heinrich Himmler, to Goebbels, to any of these high-ranking Nazis that were doing these experiments.
Yeah. Pure
evil. He is on par, and I don't remember the exact unit. Is it Unit 713? What is the Japanese unit from World War II?
I want to say it starts with the 4, I thought.
It might, but point is, he's on par with those individuals that were doing human testing.
And the people that were freezing people's limbs and then smacking it with a hammer.
Yeah, debriding them.
Yeah.
Not only did they smack it, they would take where the skin was not frozen and they would grab it. And I watched. There was a whole movie on it.
Yeah.
almost done as a documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and they literally would grab like up here, and in the movie, they debrided it.
Mm-hmm.
They ripped it all the way off down to the bone,
Yeah.
and then they take whole families,
Yeah.
and they would infect them with different stages of the same virus,
Yeah.
and see how it progresses. And I mean whole families as mom, dad, little kids.
Yeah.
And see how it progressed in all of them.
Yeah. They didn't consider the Chinese human.
No, they didn't. Not in the slightest. The Japanese were pure evil. Pure evil during
Yeah.
World War II.
Although it's odd if you don't consider someone human, you wouldn't think you would do the same thing to dogs. Then again, the Chinese do that to dogs. No. But
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that the Chinese, like nowadays, the Chinese are justified in any sort of hate or anger they have towards the Japanese.
oh, they are.
Totally justified.
But it's interesting that they have taken a lot of the Japanese's worst. They've like actually absorbed that abuse and made it a part of their culture. Is what's odd.
True. Another strange thing with the Chinese, and this is one that puzzles me, is they're almost, I'm not going to say an obsession, but their propagation of Mao Zedong's ideas towards Taiwan. Back when Taiwan split off, and I don't remember what the movement was called and the leader that went over there, and when Mao Zedong basically gained the majority of his power in China, they have held to Taiwan being their property. And it really wasn't. Once that separation happened, Taiwan became its own entity, and it's not the property of China, as much as they want it to be the property of China.
Yeah.
And that just has to boil down to what's underneath the soil in Taiwan. It has nothing to do with anything else.
Well, a lot of it's probably just posturing because they want
True.
the high tech manufacturing.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting because in many ways the reason China is even successful is because Mao Zedong died.
Yeah, no, it is. And his I don't remember the name of Deng, the short guy. Yep.
He took over, and the way he actually fixed it all was he either killed or retired all the bureaucrats.
Well, he also, when he took over, there was another guy alongside him. They embraced more of the capitalistic approach in opening China up.
Yeah, they did. They opened it up, and then, but just as important is the bureaucrats that were stopping it, they literally put them, and they gave them jobs where they just stared at a wall. But they promoted them.
So you mean modern day American politics?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Though, if we got rid of our bureaucrats, imagine where we'd be.
Right. And hopefully Elon and who's that guy? Vivek Ramaswamy or whatever can clean out some of that.
Yeah. See, China is not as great of a nation as America is.
No.
It's just we're being held back by the same thing they were. We have developed a bureaucracy that is a cancer and it has to go.
Yeah, overfunded and does nothing.
It's not just that it does nothing; it is actively harmful.
Yeah, well, when you're overfunded and you're siphoning from the system, you're going to be actively harmful.
True, because
you're stealing resources from where things could be.
You also feel threatened by anyone that does do something. In a sense,
productivity scares you because you can lose your job. Or
exactly.
Who is? Let me think here. I think one of the shortcomings, though, with Deng and with and I cannot remember the guy's name because there were two big party leaders. So it wasn't just Deng.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I remember Deng because Dengism is a thing.
Well, I think the movement. If you remember Tiananmen Square, right? Those college students. The way that he handled that whole situation was careless.
Oh. Yeah.
And that iron-fisted approach is what we see nowadays with Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
It isn't that opposition's not given any voice. There is the party's voice, and if you go against the party's voice, quite frankly, you might as well just jump off a building.
It's only worked for them because of how much of a true monoculture the state is. They are essentially single
Yes.
ethnic
Yep.
ethnicity. They are a true.
Well, and there is a hive, and this isn't to degrade, obviously, any of the Chinese people, but there's a hive mind like approach to things, and that stems from Mao Zedong's ability to unite the lower class poor people in China, which actually led to the Great Leap Forward being such a catastrophic failure, because everybody was so on board that nobody was caring for their crops, nobody was caring for anything. They were just trying to achieve this great leap forward. And you still see remnants of that groupthink today.
You still see remnants of the skull that it left, where they are terrified of just not having food, and they'll like turn on you if they think you're weak and they can take something from you.
Well, yeah, that bleeds through their entire. I mean, think it's a very take what you can get culture. Think of like the tofu drag buildings.
Yeah,
I mean, literally just garbage buildings. You have people. You have
30% cardboard in the concrete.
Yeah, you step the wrong place, you're going through the floor.
Yeah.
And then but they sell these to people.
I know.
And then you've got this is the one that blew my mind is they are siphoning gutter oil stuff out of the sewer to use in food.
I heard that and I thought about it and I didn't understand how it could even make economic sense, but
I'm not sure either, but I've watched the videos of them doing it.
It's too much evidence.
Yeah, there's no refuting it. It's out there. You can find it. You can find there's a video of the guy literally chopping up. I don't remember what he was using. It's a machine like just turning cardboard into basically a powder, and then mixing it with flour, and making bread with it.
You know, it does add a lot of fiber, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. It might not be the best thing to consume, but keep you skinny, I suppose.
Yes, I don't know. Wow, it might blow you up. Actually, I don't know what it would do.
Diet bread, part cardboard.
Yeah.
Watch what you eat, I suppose.
Yeah.
But there's just when you have that level of corruption and that culture of taking advantage of other people, you can't form a productive society.
No, not really.
Because eventually it's going to eat itself.
No, they're going to reform the exact same issues that led to the previous bureaucracy.
Right.
Because the bureaucracy is fundamentally the reason it's bureaucracies don't work is because they are a cursed combination of nagging politicking and only looking out for yourself, backstabbing. That's what they are, and you end up getting nothing done. And they gatekeep to make sure nothing gets done. And if you want to do something, they will attack you. So that is why you cannot allow that to develop. So,
well, on that subject, jumping back over here to the States, you really see the prevalence of that all over the place.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't have the moral degradation you see on the lower levels.
Yeah.
We're not to that point, but it is starting to seep down, and a lot of it is taking root more in political fundamentalism than anything else.
Yeah.
And you're seeing people holding on to these dogmatic views of there is no middle ground. There's a left and a right, and there is no middle ground. But that's just simply not the truth. When you actually dig in, most people sit in the middle ground and they feel cornered into the left or the right. And if you make any movements towards that not necessarily progressive ideology, but progressive in the sense that it's devoid from the right, it's devoid from the left, and more of a libertarian.
This country was built on classical liberalism. We are classical liberals with a strong Christian undertone. That's what we are. We believe in having freedom, but having good morals and teaching good morals to people on a personal level. So
but that's also that right there is why you don't see we have our bureaucratic politicking, all of that stuff, and all of that shit's the same as China.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's totally morally bankrupt and corrupt. But the reason that hasn't gone down into the poorer classes like us is because of our foundation.
Yeah. It's the only thing saving us.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that a lot of the poor people, working class people, we sit in the middle because of that. We have good moral backing, and I've dealt with people who frankly they don't, and it's baffling because when you interact, you can't comprehend. Oh yeah, I guess you can. You just struggle to comprehend what they're thinking, why they're thinking.
You don't know why they're even living.
Right. It seems like if you're not living to help other people in some way, shape, or form, and obviously help yourself, move yourself along, but if you're not propagating something good in the world, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, at some point, you have enough for yourself at a pretty early stage, really.
Yeah.
You don't even really, if you're not working towards something greater, why are you even working?
Right.
And it comes down to, you probably are working for, if you're not working for something good, you're probably working for a rather vindictive reason, which is not good.
I think, well, the ones that I see most often that are more morally bankrupt, that are wealthier. It either is a byproduct of their upbringing, like they were taught to look down upon people who went without or had nothing, right? And then the other one is people who maybe had nothing and never had a purpose and were ashamed of having nothing, and now that they have something, they have to flaunt it. So,
yeah, I don't know why you would want to flaunt it, but I mean, I know why. I just don't.
I don't really understand it. I don't get it. I don't know why people would want to buy a $200,000 car. I mean, you're driving around in something that could very well, you reckon it's gone. So it's a pointless investment. And the only reason you're doing it is so that people look your way.
Yeah.
And what good is that? What good is it to cause jealousy in another individual?
I guess I guess you're winning. No.
Right, and you see that a lot on social media too. Especially, it's one of the reasons I got rid of Instagram. It's because all it is a bunch of people that are very clearly taking a lot of substances to look a certain way or to lift super heavy, and they're posting things, claiming things that aren't true, and all it serves to do is put other people down, and they take pride in it.
Yeah, but yeah, there's nothing to be proud of though. Really.
Look what I've done. Well, what have you done?
I don't know. See, I guess I think some of those people, maybe they want to feel not lonely, but that's not how you don't feel lonely. Because I think his name's Carl Jung. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but I think he's right when he says that loneliness really comes about because you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to. You cannot say what you want to say. So, maybe they should try being honest with themselves if they want to stop being lonely. So.
I think think too, when you get lonely, you get defensive.
Yeah.
You start to, instead of becoming introspective, you judge your weaknesses and your flaws.
Yeah.
And then you get angry when people not even necessarily call out those weaknesses or flaws, when you think they might call out those weaknesses or flaws. And so you just become this bundled up piece of anger, always trying to protect this sense of self.
Yeah, I think that's probably why political correctness is so dangerous, actually, because I mean it's not good to just hate people just because they're part of a group. I don't think that, but denying that groups don't behave a certain way is delusional, and not being able to say things that you need to get out, trying to suppress that, is only going to create a bunch of truly lonely people, which is probably what they really want.
Well, weakness and isolation.
Yeah.
There is definitely strength in numbers.
Yeah.
Pick people apart, and there's nobody around to defend them.
True.
Yeah, and a lot of that stems from up at the top. So, back on the alien subject, though. Jump over there. Do you think there's a correlation, and I believe you do you think there's a correlation with what's being found in the ocean and what is being attempted to be talked to using those squid arrays?
Probably. Yeah, I do. I don't know. I don't have the information on exactly what's going on, but you get ideas when you read this stuff, and if you have a you can connect the dots and you can get a good picture of it. I mean, that's really how everything. I mean, that's the essence of the scientific method. We have flawed perception, but we have ways of reducing it down and making it less flawed. And my intuition on that is that they have to be connected, because the same people that are involved with both, I mean, it's the same people involved with all the projects.
Right.
They overlap. I mean, you go look at the CIA, they have the Stargate project where they try to contact them that way. They try to use traditional occult methods to do it.
Do you think there is a way to use chemical substances to enhance spiritual?
Yeah, probably. I don't know how it works exactly, but I do know that basically all psychedelics, what they do is they attach to serotonin sites, and actually they're way oversized for them, so they actually are like loose and they flap around. So probably what's going on is somehow that facilitates communication. I don't know how, but it's odd. It's connected to the serotonin system, but in fact, that is how they developed SSRIs. Is they noticed LSD almost had the reverse effect of what an SSRI does, because it competed with serotonin for those sites. When serotonin binds, it basically, serotonin's like a coping molecule. It does in a sense counteract depression by removing your face, but it's probably not the best solution, but it is a solution.
I would imagine. That might be the best solution. Do you think, and this is something, and this is off topic just a little bit here, but do you think there's a way to stimulate interactions with other dimensional beings
I mean, possibly. If you, I don't. I don't know why that would be the case. It could be just a spiritual reason, although there is, once again, that's affecting your dopamine and your serotonin receptors.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at is you're talking a large rush to your head, to your whole body.
Yeah.
So if you can have, if you can be stimulated to the point where you have a rush like that, hypothetically, it'd be just the same effect as having a drug. If it was really that good, same effect as taking psychedelics. Maybe brief in the sense that it wouldn't
exactly
last as long.
The same, because a psychedelic is as far as I know, there's nothing in your body that can. Well,
I don't mean the same as an identical, but
I know
in its ability to.
I don't know if the facilitation it has a requirement for it to have basically a loose end hanging off when it's attached. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But that could explain too why LSD is, you basically just see random colors a lot, but then sometimes you facilitate communication because you're picking up a lot of noise.
Right.
So it's possible that it really is. Actually, that does make sense. So I do wonder why DMT always has such a specific effect, and you don't really see colors as much. You almost always directly interact with a.
What do you think would happen if you were to take psychedelics or DMT while consuming just a straight 100% oxygen?
I probably wouldn't do fast food. They used to use, if they had a high linoleic acid content, it would have vitamin E with it. It wasn't processed in the way it was gone. They used to use, like Taco Bell, they used to use coconut oil to fry those stuff.
It's all probably seed oils now.
It's all highly processed linoleic acid. It doesn't have any vitamin E. A lot of it's been already oxidized. And that stuff, it probably clogs your lymph system. So, it's not good.
So, what I've noticed when I'm doing the grease truck, is 95% of the stuff that I pump is like seed oils.
Yeah,
and
it's cheap.
Very few is like beef tallow.
Yeah.
And then if it's a Mexican joint, it's just whatever they decided to shove into the container. Usually beans and cheese and everything else is not supposed to be in there, but a bone here and there, and you're just like, you'd be surprised at the crap you find. Actually, it's a funny story. The guy that I trained with, Harold, told me that he went to there was a Mexican joint. I want to say it was Marshalltown, or no, it was Toledo. It's in Toledo, and he pumped. There was an Asian joint across the street. He pumped it, nice, beautiful oil, just beautiful. Get it all up, and it comes up in 5 seconds, even though it's cold, and then he wraps his hose and goes up to the Mexican joint. He opens up the Mexican joint, takes the lid off, because he's using a 3-inch hose. When you use a 3-inch hose, you have to take the lid off because you can't get it to the grate, because the grate only allows a 2-inch hose.
Yeah.
And he's pumping it. Everything's going just fine. Stops pumping. A 3-inch hose is big, okay?
Yeah.
So if you're clogging a 3-inch hose, and this is the summer, this isn't the winter, so it's not like a chunk of ice or something or some frozen thing in there. You're clogging a 3-inch hose, it's a problem. So he pulls the 3-inch hose out, and so think of it this way. Think of this as the head, and this is the tail. He had sucked a dead squirrel into the hose, and he somehow managed to get it right in the middle. So he said if he had done it with the tail or the head, the squirrel would have just gone up the hose. But instead, it went like this and folded in half. Couldn't get it out, so he tries knocking it on the container, can't get it out. But its little tail was sticking out just enough to where he stuck it on the ground.
I was gonna think when you suck up a rat, it's not even big enough though. It had to be a squirrel.
He sticks it on the ground, and the little tail, he puts his foot on it and had to basically use his foot to pry it out.
Yeah.
But so sometimes these these critters, they get curious.
Yeah.
It's surprising you don't find a lot of mice, because I think the mice have caught on that, hey, this grease thing, yeah, this is good, it's tasty, but also I fall in there, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And also this
natural
is
selection for the mice.
Right. And also this is super slippery. Once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
Like he also found a cat, because the cat slipped through the grate. But once you're in and you're covered in that, you're covered in grease.
You can't get out.
You're not getting out. You're just gonna sink into the grease, and you're goners, man. You're totally toast.
Yeah, you are.
But yeah, some of the crap he's found, and some of these places you pump, and it's usually the Mexican restaurants. Okay, and I love Mexican food.
They don't care though.
They don't care. They will just scrape everything whatever is on that grill, or whatever. It is just all going in the bucket. And you'll often find that when they do this, here's your grease container. Here's a dumpster. They are, you can put your hand on the grease container and your other hand on the dumpster. But they'll come out, they'll dump the grease, they'll take their gloves off and throw them into the grease container. But the grease container, the gloves won't go through the grate.
Yeah.
So oftentimes you pull up to these Mexican joints to go pump the grease, and it's just, there's a mound of stuff that has congealed on the top because it wasn't able to get past the layer of gloves that have been piled up there, even though they could have taken their gloves off, extended their hand out, and dropped them in the dumpster. They decided to put them on the grate there.
Oh, jeez.
So we stopped clearing the mound. So Harold was like, I used to clear the mound, make it look all nice. And he's like, but they just kept doing it. And every time I'd come, there'd be a bigger pile and a bigger pile. So he stopped clearing it. Well, when you stop clearing it, if you dump that grease and that grate's not clear, where's the grease going? Back on the poor soul that's dumping that grease.
Yeah.
So they
learned very quickly.
They learned very quickly to stop. So most of them did, not all of them did. But a lot of them learned very quickly to stop letting that thing get filled up with gloves and crap.
I don't even understand, because it's 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, well, but it's people are lazy.
I understand forgetting it, but the repeating.
People are lazy.
That's a level of laziness I can't comprehend, actually.
Trust, it's all over the place.
You're there.
You're saving a half a second, but that is a half a second in your brain. It's just the easier route.
It's literally nothing.
I know, and that's what you would think. It takes no effort. The problem is, it takes no effort plus just a 0.5% of, it takes a 0.5% of effort, and they just don't want to do it.
I don't even know if it's even 0.5%.
It's likely not. But
you already have them. All you have to do is leave them on your hand and then take them off into the dumpster.
Think about the likely offenders, the common offenders of this.
Yeah.
It's always the Mexican restaurants.
Yeah.
And who knows why? Because they have a ton of other restaurants we do, right? Just a variety of restaurants, but it's almost always the Mexican restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
There is one Mexican restaurant, Fiesta Jalapeno, in Aiken. You go there, and it is some of the cleanest grease on the planet. So you know it's not because it's Mexican food, and that the Mexican food is by default dirty or has extra junk in it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You can get really clean Mexican grease. It's because these are the same people that are scraping the entire thing off, cheese and beans and everything, into places they're not supposed to. So you already see that they have no care for the effort.
One of the restaurants, they come in legally, and the other comes in illegally.
Well, I won't make any comment on that. I'm not sure.
You're not sure, okay.
I'm not sure.
But let's face it, statistically, it probably is that way.
And it might be, but I think a lot of it just boils down to, like Harold had a conversation with a guy. In an alley, had a conversation with the guy that was one of these big offenders. And the guy said, yeah, we'll change it. We'll clean it up. Comes back again, same issue. Okay. Comes back another time, same issue. Comes back another time, has a conversation with the guy again, sees him. Yeah, we'll fix it. Okay? Comes back in the winter, same issue. He looks at me, he goes, I was so tempted to go into to the side of the truck, pull the knob out, and just point it at the door. When you pull the knob out, you reverse the suction. It's sprayed at the wall. And I'm like, I can't really blame you. Because, I mean, this place, man, when we were pumping this place, lemon, bone, lemon, fork. One of them I found a pie cutter. Or what do they call that?
Good thing they have a pie. Oh, a pizza cutter?
Yeah, it's just the one where you, I can't think of what
Oh, pie server?
Server, but you can cut the pie and then you can serve the pie with it.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Why?
Good thing they have that new process. Because otherwise you can't clean that oil easy. Because, wow.
Yeah, some of it's. I sit here and go, but they make money.
They make money because they got that chemical that they can throw in there and it separates it out.
Right.
Otherwise, they would not. Because they would not deal with that dirty ass oil.
Well, but you also got to understand it's yellow grease, right? And yellow grease, if you take the average, I want to say it's about like 33 cents or 34 cents per gallon. You're pumping out 40,000 you're pumping out 40,000 gallons.
Yeah. True.
Not gallons, 40,000 pounds. So you're pumping out thousands and thousands of gallons in a single man operation every single week.
Yeah.
So there's money there, obviously.
Yeah, and then if you think about it, you make biodiesel, you get tax credits for that.
Well, you make biodiesel, but you can also make the other thing is animal feed.
True.
For livestock. And so that's an ag product.
Yeah.
And ag is highly subsidized.
Yeah, they're both subsidized.
Yeah. So you're dealing with an industry that has money to throw around, and they're getting exemptions from the government.
Yeah, it's two industries that are highly subsidized, and then there's still a lot of the product itself is still pretty valuable.
Right.
So, yeah, it makes a big difference.
I don't know, what their numbers are. I don't know if they would be profitable if it wasn't subsidized. I'm not sure, but
probably a little bit, but they might have to work a little better at making the routes efficient.
Right. Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, route efficiency definitely is a problem. That's for sure. And it's bizarre. Now, I actually discovered, and maybe I might have told you this, but
yeah, you told me about your routes.
Yeah, the CFR exemption.
Oh yeah,
which is interesting. So
wait, really? They have us?
There's an exemption for ag commodity transportation.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me this.
Yeah. It's all new. I just found it out.
So you can go drive over 15 hours?
Yeah, apparently. And I didn't know this. So for oil fields, so typically like a truck operator on the weekend has to take 34 hours off to let their cycle restart. An oil field operator is 24 hours off.
Really?
When you're in an ag state during the harvest or planting season, which in the state of Iowa is January 1st to December 31st, which...
So it's all year.
It's the whole year. They're just like, we're not even bugging. It's the whole year. So in the state of Iowa, the entire year, if you're transporting an ag commodity and you're within the 150-mile radius of the commodity, you're exempt from any HOS.
Interesting.
And you don't have to have an ELD. You don't have to log. Now, when you leave that 150 air mile radius or whatever, then you have to log, but only while you're outside of that radius. And the time only counts when you're outside that radius. So what that basically means is anybody in the state of Iowa that's transporting an ag product and they're staying within that radius, they have no hours of service. It is not a thing in the state of Iowa. So this goes livestock, feed, so like yellow grease by technicality goes into feed. It's an ag commodity. corn, seeds,
Yeah.
bees.
Anything
Bees
that
is
they,
a big one.
yeah.
Horses. It just, you know, you can think of it. Pigs. You don't have to worry about it.
Basically anything that could be turned into animal feed, which is most food. It is. I mean, in yellow grease, it's food marginally.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not food we're eating. But you know.
Yeah, if it goes into a cow, it doesn't. It's not too bad because the way those stomachs are,
Oh, they can process it.
it changes it. It turns into butyric acid mainly, which is butter. You know, but so
It was interesting when I looked this up. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize technically you don't have to log any of this.
yeah,
And I'm like,
that is interesting. So that means there's basically no way that you could go over hours.
yeah, people
Because-
couldn't go over our. Well, I mean, you could,
But
you'd be
you
working
never
a
ever
hell of a lot.
you're never driving outside of that 150-mile radius for like
No,
for more than 8 hours.
no, not even that.
Yeah, not even
I mean, the furthest I'll drive is Sioux City or Dixon,
yeah.
and Dixon's out of the radius by like 20 minutes.
Mhm.
And there's one pump location there,
Yeah.
and then there's another location in Rock Falls or Rock City, so another spot right there in Illinois, and then you're back in.
Yeah.
So you got 40 minutes of log,
Yeah.
and the other one is Sioux City.
Yeah.
Now Sioux City sits outside of it, and you spend about 4 or 5 hours there, but that's it.
Yeah, there's no way.
It
won't
would be a
happen.
miracle. It'd be an absolute miracle.
Yeah, that's why they designed it that way, because they do.
Right. That's why the planting and harvesting season is.
They just extended it.
Yeah, they're like, just the whole year.
They took the slider and they went.
Yep. and to a point, it makes sense
Yeah.
because that is our big product here in the state.
It is a big product,
We
and
have to be able to move stuff, and we don't have drivers. There's not drivers. You don't have enough people to run these animals around or this feed around.
It's interesting that there's not enough drivers for that. You'd think there would be more.
The deal is they don't pay. In my opinion, they don't pay drivers enough.
Probably not.
You can't pay someone $25 an hour to be a driver.
Not now.
Even let's just go back 10 years and let's assume you're paying somebody $25 because people don't realize what goes with being a driver like this.
Yeah.
If you're an OTR driver,
Yeah.
and you're home every once in a blue moon, you're missing out on a lot of stuff with your family. Is $25 an hour worth missing out on all that?
Not really.
No, it's not. So why would you not take something that's low?
And I imagine that causes a lot of cheating too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which is just sad. But
it is sad.
so
Just like the military does.
now a lot of the ag stuff, obviously, you're staying with that 150-mile radius, but that doesn't mean you're going home every night.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in the truck, you're picking your nose, and you're just like, there's only so much you can do and so much you can listen to
Oh, yeah.
before your mind is just wandering in 100 different directions, and you're starting to think, what am I doing with my life? I can tell you how many times I'm driving down the road, and I go, what the hell am I even doing?
Yeah. I mean,
I know I'm trying to get done with school, trying to get that stuff wiped out, right?
well, I mean, and I know what you're saying. That's why I fundamentally did it, and I'm glad I did. Didn't now is go to the bus barn. I'm really glad I
bus
did.
barn's a little different.
It is a little different.
You
but-
do feel with a bus barn, if you have a passion for kids,
Mhm.
it's not a bad gig.
Yeah.
So long as you don't get shitty kids.
Mhm.
And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Almost all kids are shitty kids. Let me clarify. Almost all kids are shitty kids. All kids are shitty kids at some point.
Yeah.
Now they can be really good kids,
Mhm.
and they have a really bad day.
Mhm.
But when you're dealing with 70-something kids or 50 kids, the odds of a kid having a bad day, one of those 50 kids, is really high.
Mhm.
So you're going to be dealing with those issues every single day of the week.
Yeah.
And one kid having a bad day is going to take it out on another kid. And so you always deal with this chain reaction. And then nowadays you have parents that just, they don't care. They do not give a
Most
damn.
of them don't care. I mean, I think that's the greatest, the worst affliction of society has now is we just don't really care about much.
Nope.
And that is the thing that is, like we were saying earlier, we had a strong full moral foundation, but apathy will slowly chip away at that. And that is the thing that is dangerous right now.
Yeah, there's definitely been in my opinion, there's been a large increase in people's inability here in the States to care for other people, to care about the common good. And I think that a lot of that's rooted in the fact that you have a lot of shitty parents.
Yeah.
But you also have a lot of parents that they have to work so much that they can't have the relationship with the kids that they want.
Yeah.
And those kids, they don't see the good. They only see the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that festers and grows into their personality and who they become. They become a selfish kid, which means they become a selfish person.
Yeah. And I am a little bit... We're kind of on the... We're at the fork in the road, the precipice right now. We really are.
Yeah. It's going to go one way or the other.
Yeah. And people are just going to have to suck it up, because it might get bad for a little bit.
Well, if we're looking at the economy, it's most certainly going to get bad.
Oh, it will get bad.
And they're going to blame it on Trump 6 ways to Sunday, but...
he didn't do any of it.
It doesn't matter. That's what they're
The
going to do.
only thing he did that, but he kind of had to. He didn't really have much of a choice. The only thing he really did that was maybe... He did print a decent amount of money during COVID. But...
Still, everything aside, you know who they're going to blame regardless.
Yeah.
It will not be Biden's fault.
Even though it clearly is Biden's fault.
Correct. That's what I'm getting at. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. They're going to... They have a target. They're already planning their entire news cycle for the next 4 years. It's all...
Well, it's like he's lighting the bomb off right now. Everything he's done. When he's leaving, it's like he's...
Yeah, he's trying to make it a headache. Especially, and anybody who doesn't think that is clearly missed the whole news thing with the Ukraine and the ICBMs, and why in the hell you would approve that on your way out the door is beyond me.
Yeah.
We don't need to start another war. I honestly think that the individuals who approved that should be tried.
Yeah, they really should.
Because you know what they're trying to do. Lock Biden up. He approved it.
I mean, I don't think the presidential potent power should include things that should include hypothetical crimes that are not being prosecuted.
That's a little bit strange.
Yeah. See,
if he hypothetically kills somebody in 5 years, he can't be tried for it.
See, that's psychotic. You can't do that. The limit on the potent power is for things they've been accused of or being accused of. He's not... There's no court case on...
You're not guilty until you're guilty.
Yeah.
You have to be proven to be guilty.
Yeah. See, okay, fine. He pardoned him for the gun crime. But...
The fact that he pardoned him for hypotheticals means that those hypotheticals are true.
Most definitely.
So everything with the laptop, all of that. Yeah. And I already knew that. You know,
it's clearly real.
I managed to find the videos.
Jeez.
I don't know if you ever found them. I managed to find the videos.
I watched it. I saw a little bit of it, and I just didn't really even want to watch more.
It was clear as day what was going on. Huh. He's snorting. The dude's naked.
Make it more extreme. Although, my opinion is you probably want 2% CO2 and like high oxygen, because I do think that you would absorb more oxygen that way. Believe it or not. I don't know. You probably know about the Bohr effect. You've heard of that, right? Yeah. I think it would be more effective. Probably. I mean, it'd be even more effective if you were under high pressure too. So.
So you're inferring the barometric.
Yeah. Hyperbaric chamber. Probably 40%. You know, I've read some things too that they seem to think that you do want some nitrogen, believe it or not, but probably 40% oxygen, 1 to 2% CO2, best nitrogen. That would be, I don't know, but there's a debate I've read a couple people that work with hyperbaric chambers. They say sometimes you want higher oxygen.
I don't know why I always think barometric.
I think probably because it is. There's a barometer that you use to measure the pressure. So.
The hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah.
What do you think on the effects of what that does to your telomeres? Have you looked at that?
Yeah, well, it probably does de-age you, because I think probably the reason you age is more to do with your mitochondria than even the telomeres, and that's a secondary effect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the reason you age is because you stop being able to properly, you lose control of oxidation. I think the body is just your body's mainly just about controlling oxidation. Controlling where stuff oxidizes and where it does not. And making sure it's always in balance that way. It's when you stop. I mean, I think that's why I actually think that if you go away from glucose metabolism to lactic acid metabolism, that's not necessarily good. But I think if your body's constantly using lactic acid, that's a very bad thing. But
how would you go about avoiding that?
I mean, I think the hyperbaric chamber is one way.
But I mean,
I think
more of a dietary thing.
Dietary. I mean, I think creatine is good. I think avoid processed food is probably the number one thing. Let's face it.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck.
Here in the States, it's a little bit difficult to do.
I know. I think the main thing is that our diet recently has gotten particularly bad. You look at even fast food, the way it used to.
Proud.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. But was he hurting anybody? No. So, I mean, I don't really care.
There was a couple
worried.
photos of him with some.
Underage.
They looked like they were less than. They looked like they were like 10. Maybe less. There's one where he's just like he's almost completely naked. There was like a group of like 10 different little girls around him in like a sauna.
Oof.
And one where she's like just wearing like a hooker outfit. So it's not just we're not talking. These are little.
Hold on. Was Bill anywhere?
No.
No. Well, maybe not Bill, but Hillary would have been there.
Yeah.
That's more her type.
Yeah, she likes. Yeah.
Were they Haitian?
It looked like 3 of them were.
Hillary was definitely somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think on that note, I think we'll end it.
Yeah, that's a good place
So,
then.
we'll end it there. But
your leaders are evil and they hate you.
That's what we're calling good.